Hey, what's happening? You're live with the Toe Bugs. We are back finally after a long hiatus. And I'm joined by Blake Baker from JW Boot Company and Wesley Medell. How's everybody doing tonight?
Pretty good, man.
Pretty good. How are you, Blake?
Doing great. Doing really good.
This we'll see how it goes. This may be a shorter stream than usual. It just depends on how deep we go into a couple of topics. But I know that Blake wanted to go into a little background and detail into Manta Ray and Stingray hides. So Blake, I'll let you take it away on that.
Okay, so there's a lot of things I've seen on various Facebook pages or chats or whatever, and talking about the white that you see on the Manta Ray and it being painted on, and that's not exactly accurate. And it's unfortunate that thought exists, because Manta Ray is a beautiful hide, and the color it can produce is beautiful. And so I'll explain a little bit about how that white that you see happens.
Okay.
So right here, I have Manta Ray, and you can see all these pearls that run down. Let me get it right in front of the camera. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, these pearls, if you see these pearls right here, they're rounded, but these pearls in the middle are all flat. Well, what has happened is that there's two sanding methods that they can do. They can sand before they tan it, or they can sand it after they tan it, and then after they tan it, they buff it. So these pearls, these bigger ones that you see, well, all the pearls actually are made out of enamel, like our teeth, and then inside, underneath the enamel, is dentine. D-E-N-T-I-N, just like what the inside of our teeth are made out of. So that's the reason why you see this color. And then right in the middle of the Manta Ray is huge calcium deposits. So that makes it even more white. So if I take my finger and I rub it right here, this right here is rough, because these are the pearls that are rounded, that haven't been sanded. And then when I get right here, it's really smooth. And then here it's rough again. And it's so much that there's actually a ridge right there, and there's a ridge right there. You can feel that. That is not a strip that's painted on like 100 people will tell you on these internet pages. It's just not, that's not accurate at all. This has been sanded. That's what smoothed out those pearls. And then when they buff it, you can get that coloring done to it. Okay. Another way you can tell is you can see the black in between the pearls. If you were to try to paint those, that white would bleed and you wouldn't see all the black. Now, what I think has happened is, I think that maybe there's been some companies that to accentuate it, maybe add paint to it, okay? Because dentine, the natural color of dentine is actually a little bit yellowish. So if you remember ever losing a tooth, your tooth kind of looks a little closer to yellow than it does white. And so I think what companies sometimes do is they don't like, if you look at these, you can see it kind of has a natural little hint of yellowish, whitish, even a little clear to it. I think some companies want it to be super white, and so they may be painting it, but I don't think that's the norm. The norm on how this is done is these pearls, when they're sanded and then buffed, they expose that calcium dentine look that's really, really pretty.
What about the ones that have the diamond on the toe or on the top of the foot?
So it's the same way. They're just sanding it in a different shape. So
okay.
So let me grab my boots real quick.
Okay.
So these boots right here, these are some Manta Ray, and you can see the white. And you can see they're real shiny. So this skin right here, it was the whole skin was pretty much sanded down. okay, and then buffed, and that's why it's shiny. That's what's different than the normal Manta Ray that you see, where you have the white diamond in the middle, and why this one is so shiny is this entire skin was sanded. So when you look at some of the smaller pearls, you can barely see the little white tips to them, okay? But because they were sanded and buffed, you can still see the white tips. When you get to the bigger pearls, it's even more. And then when you get to the biggest pearls in the middle, it's even more. So the two kinds of Manta Rays, the King Manta Ray has, I believe it's the King that has like this right here, where it has the pearls going all the way down. And then the other kind of Manta Ray has a whole bunch of pearls right here in the middle. And so when you see the diamond or the circle, that's what they're trying to accentuate. Is that's a different. It's the same animal, but it's a different, I guess, male or female or whatever. And so they have a different pattern of those pearls in the middle. So when you see the circle, it's because those big pearls are generally located right here in the middle, like you see with these. I have 2 or 3 of them right here. Actually, this actually may be. Well, I can't tell. This is much smaller, but anyways, those are your 2, and that none of that's painted on. Now, is the hide dyed? Absolutely, the hide's dyed, but all hides are dyed. You know, this hide is dyed black, just like your ostrich and your caiman and all of that's dyed. But as far as going back and painting this stuff white or painting that white, that's just not accurate at all.
Okay.
Now, with that said, I have seen some of these boots with the diamond, where when you look at the diamond, the entire thing's white, including the gaps in between.
Right.
And that could be a company that is actually painting that.
Yeah.
But as you've seen from mine, the in between those pearls is all black. So that's just a natural sand and buff process.
Okay. What do you know what color the hide is in its natural form? I thought it was black, but it may not be.
I think it may range from so I've seen it almost kind of well, I'm trying to see if I have something close to it. Similar to this color right here.
Okay.
This grayish color.
Yeah.
From that to a brown to maybe a black.
Okay. Like everything else, it could vary in color.
Yeah, and their Stingray and Manta Ray, and you know, I can't tell you the difference between the 2 hides. From what I know, they're the same. We do Manta Ray products, but and so there could be, you know, the Manta Rays could be closer to a black, and the Stingrays could be closer to a brown or a grayish color.
Gotcha.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, that is, and yeah, the diamonds that I have seen are very pronounced and very white. So I think you're right. I think that some of those at least may be painted on, because it just.
I would say a good way to check is always just look at the gaps between them.
Yeah.
And if you've ever dealt with paint or trying to paint boots or shoes or whatever, you can't be that fine. You can't paint the tip of one of those pearls and not get white in between.
Right.
And also, like I said, you can feel the ridge here. There's a ridge here and a ridge here where it was clearly sanded and then buffed.
Yeah.
And so when you sanded it, exposed that calcium dentine that's underneath the enamel.
Gotcha.
And all the black is the enamel.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Shit, I had a question a second ago and now I forgot it. Is there any other hides you're aware of, Blake, that possibly could be a part of it or anything?
I have a picture here. I don't know if y'all can see it, but you can see. So this one is not painted. I don't know how well you can see that.
Yeah, we can see it.
One, you can see the gaps in between that are black, but 2, some of the white pearls are actually yellow, a little bit yellowish in color. And that is the yellowish color is dentine. The more you start to polish those pearls, or the more you start to sand those pearls and wear off the black enamel on the outside, the more you will get a yellowish color. And then as you polish it, it kind of becomes more clear and more of a white. And so that's a that's a good way to tell you're getting something that hasn't been painted or altered.
Yeah. Carol Burgess asked, can you get them unsanded?
I don't know if we can, but I have seen boot makers that have made them unsanded.
What's the difference
So-
in the look?
That-
You're cutting out a little bit.
I'm guessing it looks more pronounced as far
Yeah.
as the texture itself.
Yeah. Yeah, you're cutting out, Blake.
That is a pretty cool.
Did I lose you? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
your sound cut out.
Sorry about that. So the difference in the look is that this is unsanded, this part of the hide.
Okay.
And that part has been sanded and buffed.
Okay. Whereas that other pair, the boots they're totally
so-
sanded and polished.
So yeah, so see the difference, see how
Real
you
shiny.
yeah, in fact, if I show the back, you can see all the little on the boot, you can see all the little white tops.
Yeah.
Whereas this part right here, it's all black. That's the difference between sanded and unsanded, and then buffed afterwards.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically, the more sanded the hide is, the brighter it shines because you're just bringing out that dentine out. Is that right?
Once it's been buffed, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Carol said you wouldn't have as much white. Yeah. I think that's kind of what he was saying. You wouldn't get down to the dentine part. So
Yeah, you wouldn't have any white.
yeah. Okay.
And
So-
I do have a question, Blake. For the rest of us that perhaps haven't had the chance to have a Stingray, pair of boots, what would the texture be like? Is it closer to, from what I can see, kind of reminds me a little bit about the elephant hide, where it's a little bit rough to the touch, but looks very shiny. Is that as close to the texture as you could describe it?
Well, so the pearls are rounded, but there's a whole lot of them. So when you rub your finger on it, it's a very tough hide, but it has a real smooth feeling because the pearls are rounded. But you can definitely feel each pearl individually. It's not like all the pearls are touching each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it stiff?
Yes, it's stiff, and it is a very tough hide to sew through.
Yeah.
I believe I've seen some videos where, they're trying to cut through this hide and they can't really go through it, and they have to do several attempts just to try to get that cut of the vamp out to make these boots. So yeah, I mean, it definitely looks tough. I've just always been curious how they feel, but that, it does make sense that it's kind of like the elephant where the grain is a little bit thin, but it's a little bit wider.
Yeah.
So sometimes if you look at a Manta Ray wallet, okay, and this will show you what I'm talking about too, is sometimes the wallet makers, they don't want any of the white, okay, and so you have to understand that different tanneries are selling to different leather workers for different reasons. Some are making purses and wallets, and others are making boots. And typically, the boot wearers or the shoe wearers tend to want the white more, whereas your wallets and your purses may want less of it, or they may want more.
Yeah. Yeah. You're cutting out again, Blake.
Good thing is the boots do the talking.
That's right.
It's all white. And the reason why it's white is when they cut it, okay, whatever they use to cut it naturally shaved down that edge and exposed the white dentine underneath.
Right. Gotcha.
So just naturally, when you start to sand this, you start to expose that underneath coloring.
Right. So let's see. We got Bigger Mike Bass in chat. Blake, he wanted to thank you for talking him through the boot fitting. He said it was very good attention to detail, and he really appreciated it.
Glad to do it. Tell him thank you, or thank you.
Yeah. What'd you order, Bigger Mike Bass? Do you know what he ordered, Blake?
He doesn't order it as Bigger Mike Bass, so I have to figure out what his order name is.
Yeah, that's what I figured. He'll tell us in a second. Oh. All right, so chat, what do y'all got? What do you want to know? That's all the planning we did for today.
That makes for the best shows, though, when you don't have a plan.
Just winging it.
Well, what are you guys wearing today? What kind of boots you guys rocking today?
Let's see if I can get it up.
I totally stole your moment there, Nick. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. My Hondo 2645s, rough out.
Nice. What about you, Blake?
The deerskin. That's my everyday boot.
Nice.
I mean, I wear these things into the ground. So
Yeah.
and another misnomer. Everybody says deer soft and you'll tear up the leather. I can't tear these things up. I mean, I've
Right.
shoved gravel in them. I've done anything there is. There's a little bit of some discoloration right here, but as soon as I put a shine or a buff on it, it's gone.
Yeah. What about you, Wes?
Rocking the OG JW Boot Company. I call them the OGs because these are the first generation. Black Cherry, Cayman Tail. These were my first exotic, so I don't see how I can get rid of these ever. They're super comfortable, and I think they just go with everything. That Black Cherry just pops everywhere.
I'll tell you what, I was a little bummed this weekend. My wife and I went to the Fort Worth Stockyards, and we were walking around. I can't remember the name of the shop, but it was a Western wear store. It wasn't just boots. And we went in there, and I found this pair of Hondos that were just, they looked so good. It was this square toe double stitch, but it's like a narrow square toe. Is that shape? And they were black bull hide with a red toe bug and a white top with red stitching. They looked amazing. But in these, I wear an 11, and I tried on an 11 in those, and they were too big, and they didn't have a 10.5. They only had a 9.5. So I would have bought them right then. They looked so cool. But I guess, I don't know. I even asked them, are you sure you don't have any other boots in the back? No, they're all on the shelf. So
I hate
they
that,
were
man.
sweet. I don't even know what model number they are. I need to look them up and see if they're on his website.
Is it that toe shape?
Similar. It's this one, so it's not as blunt on the front of it, if you can see.
Okay, that's more like
It's kind of like your Dallas toe.
my Dallas toe. Okay, so that's different than this. This is we call this a rodeo. But
Yeah. So it was this toe shape exactly, where it's almost a wide square toe, but a little bit narrower.
Is it like a wide French toe bait, maybe?
It's kind of a French toe, but a little more squared off.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, that's the worst. Whenever you go to a store and you find a pair of boots that you're like, I gotta get these, and then they don't have that, that size that you're looking for.
yeah,
Or maybe just that one pair. I ran into a pair of Lucchese Cayman Tails at Boot Barn in Vegas, and I tried them on, and I mean my foot was real tight in there, but they were $200, and I guess the
wow.
only reason they were $200 was because of a misprint. So I had to take advantage of it, and I was thinking to myself, how bad do I want these boots? So I bought them. I wore them out the store. I could not make it like 20 feet without my feet hurting. Went to go get them stretched, but because it's Cayman, kind of just came back to its original size. So
yeah,
I had to let them go to somebody else.
that's a bummer. Hey, so I was wrong. It's Bigger Mike Bass. He's a bass player, but he said, Blake, that he got the Smooth Ostrich Black Cherry Trail Boss. Blake, Carol asked if you can go maybe show some examples of your different toe shapes you offer.
Sure, be happy to. That's this is the Trail Boss. That's in our oval toe is what I refer to it. You know, I've heard people that have gotten it from me. Some call it, most call it a J toe. Some say it's in between a J and an R. We call it an oval toe, but it's the name of the boot's the Trail Boss.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Western. It's actually a little bit not quite as round as the as a roper toe, but it's a Western toe. And you can get this double stitch or single stitch, and you can also get it with a Stockman heel or a slanted walking heel.
Yeah,
but that's that's the Western toe. That's our Outrider. That's our square toe, wide square toe, whatever you want to call it. This one we actually painted the stitching dark. We went all black on this, so this has the embroidery on it that's black, and then the black and with this also you can get the normal Stockman heel or a slanted walking heel. This is our Rodeo Boot. This is probably the kind of toe shape you see a lot with these, you know, oiled leather or rough out or any kind of the work boots. You see a lot of these. This one's double stitched, and you can get it single stitch. We also added a sole saver to it, which is a nice option. We can also put a rubber sole on it, and we have different rubber soles we do as well, including the tractor sole, which is starting to become pretty popular, especially with I've had some bikers that have bought some boots from me, and they like that tractor sole.
That almost reminds me of like a 7-toe, but a little bit wider.
Yep. And then there's two other toes I have. There's the Dubai toe, which everybody's familiar with that. That's kind of like this, but it's a little bit more of a round shape there. Mm-hmm. And then my Dallas toe, which is kind of like the toe shape you were just showing. It's like a French toe.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and ask this for Carol Burgess, but you could make pretty much any of those boots for a woman as well, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know that's a big point of contention with her is that they don't make women's boots that look like the men's boots.
This is made for a lady right here.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
There you go, Carol. Hit him up if you want a pair.
Yep. Another ladies, and you can get the brown shaft or the black shaft as well. But these are two ladies' boots.
Nice.
Yep. That's deerskin also. That's our honey colored deerskin. Turned out real pretty.
Yeah, that looks really good.
And we're testing various things. I'm gonna probably make this boot again with a natural colored sole to see how the combination of the honey with the natural sole and the blue works. You know, this isn't really a brown, so I think the combination of the black and the blue, and then this is almost a kind of a, I don't know what to call it, orangish color a little bit. I think the combination works. If this got any more brown, then obviously I wouldn't like to have the black sole with it. But
right.
Yep. It looks like a cognac color too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, we got a question for me and Blake, and we'll go ahead and throw you in here, Wes, too. Wes, you're from Utah, correct? Okay, so Mike K wants to know what the most popular toe styles or, you know, style of boots there are in each of our states. And I'll go ahead and start it off. In Texas, it's wide square toe. I mean, that is what you see on 90% of people, especially, some older people will wear the R toe, but I would say 50 and under, it's almost exclusively wide square toe. What about you, Blake? What's going on in Florida?
That's a great question. So there's not as many boot wearers where I am as there is where you are in Texas. I grew up in Texas. Y'all all know that. And so there's just not as many boot wearers. Everybody here on the coast is wearing flip flops or boat shoes. But we still have a handful. I see a mix, but I'm also dealing with a different crowd. There's a lot of musicians that I sponsor with boots who do a lot of advertising of my product, and most of the musicians will only wear an oval toe,
right.
A pointed toe or an oval toe. So, when I'm with them or hanging out, with their crowd, that's what everybody's wearing. But, if I go out to the countryside, you see a lot more square toe. So I see a mix of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Like in Texas, I know it's funny because people think like an exotic wide square toe isn't dressy, but I mean, here it totally is. But of course, when I say dressy, I mean, in Texas, if you wear jeans and boots and a sport coat, that's practically formal wear. What about you, Wes? What's going on in Utah?
Utah's pretty much like Texas. It's all square toes, and you got these the rubber soles, with that thick tread on it. That's pretty much what everybody wears. I mean, it's so hot out here that I've seen some people out here wearing them with shorts. So I mean, they love their boots. It's not too common, but every so often you'll see people wearing wide squares. So whenever I see somebody wearing medium round, it's like, oh, hey, look at that guy right there.
Yeah.
It's not my style, but it's what's popular out here.
Yeah. I think here, and I think it's a combination of things. Here, rodeo is so big, and I think that really influences the style. And I think there's two things going on with the rodeo riders who almost all of them wear wide square toe. And one is that it's comfortable with a little bit of a shorter heel on it. So when you're jumping off of horses or getting thrown off of a bull or whatever, you're probably less likely to twist an ankle or knee or something. But I think probably also, most of the famous ones are sponsored by big name boot companies, and, they probably have to wear whatever they send them. So if the company's pushing that probably factors into it too. But I think it trickles down to the average person in Texas, that just kind of probably affects what's popular a little bit anyway. So
that's kind of what I noticed too. A lot of the times when you go to the rodeos, they usually will they'll be rocking their sponsored boot brands and all that. So technically, what I've seen is usually Tony Lama and Ariat are the ones that are dominating. So a lot of them are white square toes. I don't think I've ever seen, like you said, I don't think I've ever seen somebody in one of these events with a round toe or even a snip toe or anything like that.
Right.
You see a lot of people just watching what they're wearing, and so that kind of just affects what people determine. Okay, I'm going to get that. So
yeah,
it's not too common.
And I would say from a sales standpoint, the wide square toe is the least that I sell. But I also think that probably where wide square toe dominates the industry, I would say where the other toe styles gain a little bit on the wide square toe is when you start to get to the exotics.
Yeah.
So and so I don't, I'm not the leather work boot maker. That's not really, we're trying to come out with some, but we do primarily exotics. And so that's why I think, and I do sell square toes, don't get me wrong,
right.
But it's not, I've talked to people that work in boot stores, all sorts of stuff. And they say, just like y'all, everybody buys square toe, square toe, square toe, square toe.
Yeah.
Well,
well, that probably helps you out too, because if people are looking for something that's not a square toe, it's not that easy to find at Boot Barn, or Cavender's or any other Western wear store. So Governor Brown wants to know if any of us predict that the square toe trend is going to be slowing down. And I get that question a lot, and I hear a lot of people say it's a fad. And I mean, and maybe I'm a little biased because I like them, but I don't think it's a fad, first of all, because it's been around for over 20 years now. And if it is, that's the longest fad ever. And I don't see it slowing down any, because whenever I go into a Western wear store, that's all there is. So whether that's what people want or not, that's what they're wanting to sell. So, you know, people keep telling me, oh no, it's slowing down, it's slowing down. I'm like, well, where are you buying the other ones? Because I don't see any of them, you know.
Yeah, whenever you go to Boot Barn, or one of these stores, that's like the one that we have closest in Vegas is like Boot Barn. I want to say maybe 3 out of 4 boots that you grab, you could throw your hand out and probably touching a white square toe boot.
Yeah.
But I feel like that I feel like exotics kind of dominate the medium round toe, J toe territory. So, I mean, I don't think either one of them rather are going to slow down. I think it's just kind of they balance each other out, because I feel like if you don't wear white square toes, you don't wear a round, you're going to wear a 7-toe, so there's a little something for everybody. And I think the demand is probably in the white square toe market.
Yeah. And, and I'll say this too. I think most of y'all, I know y'all from Facebook and social media, and, in all honesty, it's a pretty niche group on Facebook that are in those cowboy boot groups and everything. I don't really consider us the average consumer, meaning I think if somebody wants their first pair of boots and they go into Boot Barn, they're going to buy what they have on the shelf, whereas we get into all sorts of different toe styles and hides and colors and all that kind of stuff. I don't think your average person is walking into Cavender's looking for a denim blue Cayman R-toe boot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And they're not looking to spend $400 either.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. That's why they buy Areas. They can get them for $250 and they're really comfortable because they're square toe and the heel's not too tall.
And they get in trouble for spending $250. I mean, I'm serious. It's,
Yeah. So I just think it's two different markets, really, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
So Mike Bay says square is more comfortable, but round looks cooler. Yeah. I like round toe a lot. I do like the square toe, the fact that my toes can spread out a little bit. And also, I'll say this, with most of the square toe boots, at least that I have, they're a little bit wider through the throat of the boot than a lot of R-toe boots are. And I have a high instep on my left foot. And so I've got a couple of pair of R-toe boots, and they're a struggle just to get on and off, just because the shaft and the throat of the boot is so narrow.
I agree. I think you got a little bit more wiggle room to, no pun intended, but you got more wiggle room as far as boots. With the 7-toe, which is a version of a square toe, I feel like I can size down half a size, versus with the round toe, I still got to go with 10.5. So, you can kind of move around with that sizing a little bit when you have that, that the cutter toe and the medium round. But I agree. I feel like square toes in general, either wide or 7-toe, they're an everyday good looking boot. And then when you do want to dress up, you can pull out a round toe exotic and you're ready to go.
And that's a good tip. Is if any of y'all have high insteps or whatever, whether it be a square toe or not, if you get a boot with a shorter shaft on it, 9 times out of 10, it's going to go on a little bit easier than something with like a 13-inch shaft, R-toe boot. At least in my experience, that's all the ones that I have. I can say that.
Or if you have a high instep, just buy my boots.
That's right. Blake can adjust it to fit you.
Well, it comes with a high instep. Yeah. I mean, that's why my boots just naturally have a higher instep probably than most.
Yeah.
Yeah, having a shorter shaft definitely makes them come on and off easier.
Yeah. The downside is with like me, my legs are so thin that my jeans tend to like kind of fall down inside the top of the shorter shaft boots. So it's always a juggling act for me on what I prefer. I typically prefer a taller shaft, but something like Blake's that I can get my foot in and out of.
Yeah,
Because I've got a couple pairs, and once they're on, they feel great. But it's like I can't even get them off with a boot jack. I just have to wrestle with it for a half an hour.
Get the back spasm trying to get your boots off.
It's like I tried to get my wife to help get them off, and she couldn't do anything. I was just like, all right, forget it. I'll just wrestle with it. But yeah, throw my back out doing it. I saw somebody asking about Wes's guitars.
Yeah, I think it was.
I just got my new toy the other day.
That's sick, man.
It's pretty cool, I have to admit. That's the first Gibson I've ever owned, and they get a lot of flack, but man, I think it's phenomenal, personally.
Are they the Seymour Duncan pickups?
No, they're Gibson 61s.
I have a Epiphone Les Paul Custom on the left, and then the right one is a LTD EX401, which is basically a knockoff, not a knockoff, but it's a version of the Explorer. It's more jagged edges. I personally like that shape better because it's more jagged versus like the round shape of the Explorer. But both of them, I think, look and sound great. I'm a big lover of the EMG pickup, so I like how those sound.
And then I got this guy.
The dime bag.
Yeah, it's a dime Razorback. It's called the Lone Star. So it's got up here, it's got the Texas flag on it. I don't play it much though because it's got a Floyd Rose, and I hate them because they're such a pain to mess with. But it's pretty sweet.
They'll knock off your tuning in the middle of a song.
Trying to restring one is a nightmare.
Oh, one of those?
Yeah, a Floyd Rose, man, it sucks.
It takes several attempts, is what I've heard.
Yeah, that's why professionals have guitar techs.
I need to just hire one to stop by once a month. Give them a little tune-up.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think I'm gonna end the chat there, but I do need to pick the winners of the Roo Runs giveaway. So let's see. I'm gonna share my screen. And here I've got everybody's name written down. There weren't a whole lot of entries, and we're giving away 3 of them. So everybody's got a really good shot. I'm going to randomize it one time, and the top 3 people win. So 3, 2, 1, here we go. All right. Nick Hubman, Nathan Lundy, and Jeremiah Craig. Let me write that down before I forget. All right. Well, thanks for playing, guys. I appreciate it. And Nick, you're in chat, so I'll get with you on how to claim your prize. And I think that's all we have for tonight. So thanks everybody for joining. Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Blake. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. And we'll catch y'all on the next one. Take it easy.